map of Australia, and it was kind of like, we used to have a TV show in the United States called Bonanza. And the map would be there, and the flames would, okay, so it was kind of like that. And what I saw was the flames came down and they hit in Perth, which is one reason I think this is such an important city and why I was so keen to come here when Brian asked me to come out. And the flames started to spread, and they ran fairly quickly. They ran east across the south of the country, across the Bight, towards Adelaide, Melbourne, Canberra, up through Sydney, Brisbane, all the way into far north Queensland. They didn't encircle the entire country. It was kind of a, sort of a, kind of a horseshoe or a C shape, like that. And I don't know, maybe it goes north somewhat into the Kimberleys too. I'm just not quite sure. But that was the part that was very unmistakable to me. Most of those major cities that ring this west coast across the south and then up the east coast of the country. And what I saw was, I was reminded of, I'm a student of history. You guys probably know that from the way I teach. And in the Second World War, when the Allies were preparing to invade Europe and confront Hitler, there were units that were sprinkled around the British countryside. Here might have been the 24th Infantry Division. Here was, the 3rd Australian Division, and here was the French something or other, and there was the Brit whatever. And they were all grouped by units all around the countryside, and they were training. If they were riflemen, they trained with their rifles. If they were airmen, they were flying their planes and doing their maneuvers and bombing runs. If they were Navy people, then they were working offshore a little bit, not so far out that the U-boats could get them, but they were training for whatever the Navy was going to do. Everybody had a task. Everybody was focused and training, because they were part of a very big cause. And it didn't matter if you were an Australian or a French or whatever unit you were, US, Canadian, Brit, everybody was on the same team working toward a common goal. And these units they stayed together until the day came to load them all into these boats, move them across the channel, invade the continent. D-Day begins, the war is on. Well, it had been on, but that phase of the war is on. So I'm seeing all this in Australia, and I'm seeing units deployed and training in Perth, in Adelaide, in Portland, in Canberra, whatever, name the cities, whatever you want. But these units are training, and they're preparing for something. And I said, well, God, what's Australia training for? And the thing that excites me about being in Australia right now is I think God has a calling for your country to be deliverers. And it's not just to deliver the Australian people. Because what I saw was an arrow that was shot out of Australia, and it went into Southeast Asia. And when it struck Southeast Asia, these flames spread out across the map. And it started at the Indian border with Bangladesh, and it went eastward from there. It went through Burma, it went through Thailand, it went through Cambodia, it went through Vietnam, into China, the Philippines, Indonesia, all of it caught flame. And as this was happening, it was like these units were being airlifted out of Australia, just like a military operation. And these units were being inserted into these various pieces. This unit maybe had trained, and they knew, just like on D-Day, these units went to Gold Beach, these units went to Sword Beach, these units went to Juno Beach, these units went to Omaha Beach. And everybody knew what beach they were supposed to land at. And everybody knew that, Red Easy was here, Blue Easy was here, and Gold Easy was here, and they went in that order. They didn't just land randomly. There was an organization to it. And sure, some of those units got a little bit mixed up, and some of them, there were heavy casualties at some of the landing beaches, and some of them they went in with no casualties at all. But they all knew their place. They all had a focus and a mission that they were doing together. And as I saw this, I saw Southeast Asia being opened up for the gospel. And those Asian countries, many of them are some of the most closed countries to the gospel on earth. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Myanmar. Everybody knows how bad that place is. North Korea. That's not really Southeast Asia, but still in the Asian theater. And I think what God wants to do with your country, and this is again why I'm so excited to be part of what God's doing. I don't know why God sent me out here in June, and I don't know why He's given me so much favor with you guys, but He has, and as long as the favor's here, I'm going to keep coming back. And when the favor lists, I'll go away, and you guys can say that crazy Yank went home. Thank God he's gone. But I want you to think about what role you individually may play and what role your churches may play in trying to prosecute this vision, because I think the churches of Perth collectively have a role that they are going to be called to fulfill. It may be that the churches of Perth will develop a collective burden for Bangladesh. I'll just pick that one. I don't know if that's the right country. But that becomes your focus. And somehow a unity forms among these churches so that whether it's the Anglican Church or the Baptist or the AOG or it's, the Vineyards or, whoever it may be, you guys have all kind of worked it out and you say, yeah, here now, these guys are going to go work with these towns and these guys are going to work with these towns and these guys are going to work with these towns. But we've got a game plan, a strategy for how we're going to go in and we are going to bring the gospel from the remnants of the British Empire to these countries that don't really have much of a church. I know there are churches and Christians, but they're not really fully evangelized. And then the churches of Canberra, they have their mission, and the churches of Sydney have their mission. But you guys can all work this out among yourselves. I can't do that. I'm a Yank. It's not even mine to say. It's yours to figure this out. But you guys as a nation, God didn't stick you down here in the South Pacific / South Indian Ocean / Antarctic Sea to just sort of be here and just kind of live. Right? If the kingdom is real and the king has come to declare war on the kingdom of Satan and there are captive peoples who need to be set free, then that calling has got to be bigger than just our own cities and towns. So the mission that you have is to reach out to those around you, to bring those into the kingdom who can be brought into the kingdom, to heal those who can be healed, but to do so with a purpose, an end. And that end is that the kingdom of Christ would be advanced into this Asian theater. So that 10 years hence, 15 years hence, 20 years hence, this is a generational thing. We may be able to sit and say, the Church of Australia came to the rescue of these peoples who were living in darkness and walking in bondage. Isn't that what Isaiah said? The people walking in darkness have seen a great light, and on them the light of the gospel has shined. Isn't that what Isaiah said? So, again, I'll just leave that for you guys to think about, pray about, see if you think it has any meaning for you in your various contexts. And if you think it does, start praying into, okay, God, then how do we make this happen?